It's time to step into quarter 3, goals, Trello, and our word of the year. So let's dive in. Hi friends, and welcome back to Lost Without a Plan. If you're new here, hi, I'm Amanda Lynn, and I create content around creative planning, realistic routines, and simple systems to help you follow through on your goals. If you enjoy this kind of content, make sure you're subscribed so we can hang out more. Today, I'm walking you through my quarter 3 planning reset and showing you specifically how I refresh my digital and paper planning tools to make sure everything works together in real life. Before we get into it, I want to set the tone a little bit. This is not a perfect system reveal. It's more of a seasonal reset to make sure I'm still in sync with my goals. This planning system is built on one specific belief that different levels of planning need different spaces. And once all of those spaces are clear, everything will feel lighter and more usable and a lot less overwhelming. The first layer of our system is annual goals, and those live inside my MakseLife annual notebook. But before they even get here, they actually begin in Trello, which is where everything in my world takes shape before it becomes structured on paper. Trello's kind of like a North Star. It houses our big picture direction for the year. It's not something I check daily or even weekly, because when I do, it feels heavy instead of helpful. Instead, I like to treat it as a zoomed out view of my life, a place where I can see the direction without the pressure. It's visibility without urgency, a reminder of where we're going, not what we need to do right this second. And while we're on annual plans, I want to take a beat to check in with my January goals. For this, we need to revisit my word of the year. This year, my word was ignite. Back in January, I chose that word because I wanted to create momentum in the areas that matter most to me. Not through pressure or hustle, but by intentionally adding energy, creativity, and connection to add purpose into my everyday life. So before we decide on where we're going next, it's time to pause and ask myself how this word is actually showing up in my life. The word of the year is only helpful if we come back and revisit it. For personal growth, my focus was igniting confidence through creativity and self-expression. One thing I've really enjoyed this year has been diving into my personal assessments. Values exercises, character strength quizzes, and other tools have helped me better understand who I am in this season of life. Some things have changed. Some things are exactly the same, and I found a lot of confidence in recognizing both. I've also made some small shifts in my personal style through capsule wardrobe updates and buying intentional pieces that support comfort, confidence, and creativity. The 3 words I leaned into when I was coming up with my capsule goals. And honestly, that's been a lot of fun. Reading was another big focus for me this year, and I'm currently around 70 books, and my big goal for the year is 120. So that feels like it's very much alive and thriving right now. For fun and adventure, I wanted to ignite more spontaneity, more experiences, and more connection through play. I think this might be one of my favorite wins from the first half of the year. We've said yes to adventures, outings, silly holidays, and experiences, and making sure to find new opportunities to make memories together. It's felt like a fun side quest for the year. For work and learning, my goal was to ignite creativity through growth and exploration. This one's been a little slower and quieter than some of the others. I've spent some time learning from other creators, collecting inspiration, and experimenting with new ideas to build creative skills behind the scenes. I don't know that every piece of that work is visible yet, but creatively, I feel stronger than I did 6 months ago, so I'm going to call that a win. In family, I wanted to ignite connection through intentional time together. This has been probably one of the most meaningful areas for me. Whether we do a quick card game, watch a nostalgic TV show, or walk around the neighborhood, or simply just run errands together, I've been looking forward to small ways to stay connected during this tween season. And I truly think those moments matter. For health, I want to ignite momentum through movement and nourishment. And while the first half of the year was heavily focused on food and nutrition, the second half is going to be focused more on movement. I haven't missed a single day of food tracking all year, which honestly feels a little unbelievable. That consistency has become one of the habits that I'm most proud of this year. The challenge is finding ways to make movement feel fun, rewarding, and sustainable. So that's something I'm intentionally carrying into quarter 3. For personal growth, I wanted to ignite purpose through reflection, leadership, and community involvement. Between Girl Scouts and church responsibilities, I feel like I found systems that allow me to serve without constantly feeling overwhelmed. That balance has been important, and I'm excited to continue building on it for the second half of the year. For finances, I wanted to ignite progress through systems that create stability and reduce stress. We switched to tax companies earlier this year, and that definitely came with a learning curve. But now that the foundation is built, I think future years will be a lot easier. I also wanted to spend some time in quarter three catching up on expense tracking and administration that took a back seat during a particularly busy season. And finally, for home, I wanted to ignite energy through rhythms, resets, and creating spaces that feel calm and welcoming. This has been one of my favorite categories to work on. The systems we built earlier this year are still serving us really well. There are a few areas that need attention, specifically the laundry room and storage spaces, and they'll definitely be popping up in my quarter three plans. But I've also enjoyed creating comfortable outdoor spaces for my family and neighborhood kids to gather this summer. At this point, I look back at my monthly goals for June, mark off anything that's been completed and anything that needs to move on to the next month. I also take a peek at my weekly reflections to decide what went well, what still needs work from the month. Reflection helps me see something important, not where I failed, not what's unfinished, but where momentum already exists. This gives me clues about what deserves my attention in the quarter to come. And I note all that in my monthly reflections page. My biggest wins for the month of June were quality time with family and friends. Things that are not currently working are that I felt a little bit behind on some systems. Things that I've learned after that word of the year check-in, I feel like I'm more caught up than I thought. And improvements and adjustments for the next month are leaning more into family time and health goals. I'm most grateful for every moment we have together, and habits to nurture would be more movement, updating my office, and setting up my walking pad because it's getting hot out there. For the quarterly assessment, I look back at last quarter's scores and write them into the previous column. Then I rate the satisfaction in all of my areas of life. The beginning of the year was a lot more structured, but on the quarterly basis, I generally just go by how I'm feeling in the different areas of life. If you had asked me this last month, the scores would be very different. But as at the end of June, I believe that having a few weeks in June to rest and reset and have a better grasp on the situation with my mom's cancer diagnosis, I feel like we're on the up, and I hope that it stays that way. You'll see that my scores have grown in 4 areas of life, but stayed the same in the other 4. 3 words to describe how I felt over the last 90 days were hopeful, mostly in June, and then worried and overwhelmed were the other 2. From there, everything moves into our quarterly plans. This is the layer that completely changed how I plan, which brings us back into Trello. I use my quarterly Trello board to map out the next 3 months with lists and monthly focuses, and even a little bit of weekly structure so that I can capture real life as it unfolds. Things like trips, appointments, school events, and all the moving pieces that shape my capacity get dropped in here as they come in. It also serves as my on-the-go brain dump space, so when I'm out and about and life happens, I can quickly drop things into the month or the weekly board without losing them or cluttering my head. At this stage, I move into an analog planning using my Momentum Made Simple system. These right here are from my goal setting course. You can find it at LostWithoutAPlan.com/course, or I'll have it linked down below. I reference my quarterly printable calendar, the quarter at a glance page, and my quarterly overview. I lean into my Google Calendar at this point to map out fixed events and non-negotiables. This is where I pause to look at the actual capacity, not the ideal one, but real life capacity for the next 3 months. Then I jump back into Trello to decide my quarter 3 focus goals based upon that data. I am planning to keep this intentionally simple, usually only 1 major goal per month, 3 per quarter, and I have broken those down into manageable projects using my pathway to progress We map out 4 or 5 milestones per goal so that can be spread across the seasons, but keep my progress top of mind. I like to refine everything in Trello though, so that I can quickly reorder things without rewriting everything. That flexible movement is what makes this system work for me. For example, my decluttering goal has been split into rooms and then further broken down into drawers, shelves, cabinets, and specific zones so I can keep track of my progress in a visual way. I build these checklists in Trello cards so that I can see the progress stack up instead of holding everything in my head. From there, I translate everything into smaller milestones using my monthly overview worksheet. This is a freebie in my freebie library. If you're ever interested in trying it out, it's generally a full-size page, but I shrink it down so it can live in my A5 notebooks. Once the monthly overview is filled out completely, then I move things into my monthly goal pages for MakseLife. Here's where we get into the nitty-gritty. The overview is more concept, whereas the goals are actual action steps that can build me up to success. And then we move into our weekly plans, which is where everything becomes grounded in reality. Each week, I take my monthly focus and break it down into realistic action steps based upon what life actually looks like that week. Some weeks are busier with less times for goals. Some are lighter. It all ebbs and flows. At the end of each week, I'll reflect on what I got done and what needs to carry forward and what no longer fits. Remember, stuff like that isn't failure. Sometimes it just means not right now. The goal is movement, one check mark at a time, one small step forward that builds momentum. Each layer of my system has a job. Trello holds the big picture thinking. MakseLife gives me direction as the year progresses. And my paper planners are where we live it all out day to day. When everything is connected, it feels calmer and more intentional. And I think that's the biggest takeaway. A planning system only works if it connects to your real life, because life changes constantly. Seasons change, priorities shift, and your system needs to change with you if you want it to feel like support and not pressure. This quarterly reset is not about building something new. It's about coming back, clearing the space, and making sure that what we bring forward makes sense in the season that we're in. So that's my Q3 reset for the season. Just a simple refresh between my digital and paper planners so everything feels aligned going into the next quarter. If you're doing your own quarter reset right now, here's your reminder that a plan that can pivot is a plan that works. If you enjoyed hanging out today, I would love for you to subscribe and come along for more planning videos like this. Thanks so much for spending part of your day with me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.